Um, and yeah, I think we're live. Oh, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic Podcast. And for today, the Pink Bella Aloha podcast, we're doing a simulcast where we do this we used to do it every 2 weeks. Now it's become like every month, but it's still like great when we do these shows. Like I love having Pink Bella on the show. She brings a great amount of knowledge to the show, and we always have fun shows. We always get into like real like weird topics and interesting topics. So it's always a fun show. So you'll definitely want to be here for this. And just a little bit more about my guest. She's a certified Pink Bella Aloha. She's a certified quantum light body practitioner, certified USUI Reiki master teacher and practitioner, certified 12 chakra instructor practitioner, life and personal empowerment coach. Her business is Pink Bella Aloha Therapy, Ascension, multidimensional guide, and wayshower, 12 chakra energy readings, energy balance, and quantum healing, higher self liaison, twin flames and divine unions, starseeds, soul missions and abundance, Akashic record readings. We might do a couple of those today for you guys. VIP mentorship coaching packages and empowerment intuitive coach. And yeah, the Pink Bella, thanks for coming back on. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. How are you doing? Thank you for having me on today. I'm excited.
Yeah, it should be fun. It should be really fun. We already have a good crowd, so it seems like people are excited for it.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here too. So yeah, Rob and I are just like we're taking a little break from the 2-week thing through the summer because Rob's got a bunch of stuff coming up, and so do I. So don't worry, the shows will even be more jam packed because I've already got a page full of topics for us to get into. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it seems like I have shows every day. Like I try to schedule one every day. That's what I try to shoot for. But then what I was thinking about doing, I don't know, I wanted to see what you think about this, is like, I mean, maybe I should do one every other day and then just promote that one show that every other day more. I don't know what would be better. You know what I mean?
Well, my feeling is we kind of go with the flow. So if you have a whole bunch of people lined up that want to be on your podcast, yeah, you can record them and maybe you can, stagger them out and release them. And then that would give you a little bit more free time as well. It just depends. Sometimes I know sometimes we're super busy, like we're jam packed. And then other times, like you might want to have a break in between and just promote them and then go and work on some other stuff as well. So yeah, it just depends. I'm trying not to put out, like this week I have a lot of content coming out. So if y'all are not on my YouTube channel, like follow me because I got a lot of content coming out this week, but sometimes I only have one video a week. So it just depends. Yeah.
So you wanted to start off, you wanted to talk about, you said you didn't do a collective reading for this week, but you wanted to talk about the link between starseeds and UFO sightings.
Yeah. So since Rob and I have been on a break, everyone, I came out of the closet and I recorded my UFO and mothership sightings, which were way back before the internet, 1984. And I was just shy about it, but I've got a couple of mutual friends and other people are talking about it. And I think what's happening is, and then we'll get into the Bob Lazar and Area 51 stuff. I'm getting goosebumps. A lot of the original souls that were involved in the original crash sightings, that have all the information are leaving. They're transitioning. So there's a whole group of us that are supposed to be like Rob, like bringing forward this information for everyone. So I realized I was a starseed in 1997, but I didn't feel comfortable about talking about it until 2017. I started sharing about it on my channel. And then since Rob and I were on a break, I was guided to put my story out there to allow other people to feel comfortable to come forward and talk about their experiences. And now looking back on it, a bunch of us had sightings really early on because that was to prepare us for like all the movies that were going to come out, all the information that was going to come out on the media about sightings, about UFOs, etc. So now I realized through all of that, through sharing all of that, like it was a healing for me because I was finally able to share it, because many of us who've had sightings or people that went through abductions really early on have kept quiet. They've been traumatized and they didn't want to be ridiculed and made fun of. And, there's a whole group of us who believe. Then there's the middle of the road, the skeptics, like want to believe, not sure. And then there's a whole group of people that have no idea, right? There's a whole group of people on the planet that still think that we're on our own. So I look back on it now and I realize that sighting that I had in 1984, it was like 1 a.m. I was driving back, and it was on a highway where it was all wooded. So I'm outside of Vancouver, everyone, and it's a very high vibrational place, but it's very built up now. Like that area is well lit now. It's got tons of apartment buildings or whatever. But back then there was nothing. And I was driving, I'm getting goosebumps. I was driving home and all these cars were pulled over. So I pulled over because I thought somebody needed help. Because again, no cell phones. Like this is all before that, right? I pulled over, and then it was really bright. And so I got out of the car and I looked up, and we were all in awe. There was a huge mothership over top of us, and it looked like the ship in Encounters of the Third Kind.
Wow.
Yeah, like it was unbelievable. And then what's interesting is nothing was in the news about it. Because that was back in the day, it was either local newscasts or newspapers. Nothing ever showed up. So I just piled it away. But I feel like all of us that night were activated and prepared for now.
Yeah, there's been like a concerted effort to not put that kind of stuff on the news. I mean, I think a lot of people know that, but like it seems like, like it's hard. Like if you're here in Pennsylvania back in the day, they would put some stuff. They used to put some stuff on KDKA, which was like the local news station. But then they just like over time, it just got worse and worse, and they stopped. And then the ridicule factor got higher. Like anytime somebody saw something, they would be ridiculed for it. But now I'm hopefully thinking that's changing since like 2017, which was 2017. What was that? That was the Nimitz encounter where, they saw the Tic Tac, and then they also saw fleets of UFOs leading up to the event. And then that triggered David Fravor and Ryan Graves, the two airplane pilots, to come out about it and share their experiences. And ever since they have, the government's had UFO meetings, and now we're in a whole different realm. It seems like it's now like everybody knows they exist. It's just like if people are wondering what they are, but then there's people, like you said, there's starseeds who already know. It's like we already know what they are. It's just,
Yeah, but what's interesting is, and we'll get into this, I've been doing a lot of research, and of course, a lot of the aliens that landed or have been here or have been involved in the taking of people, they're not the good ones. They're not the benevolent ones. And that's what I always suspected. Yeah. I always suspected that there were different groups. So my experience that I chose was to be activated by this mothership and then not remember till years later, right? Others have gone through really traumatic experiences where they've been, taken in their sleep and all sorts of things like that. So that group to me is more of that's like the Greys, the Zetas, and they would be managed at the background by the Archons and the Anunnaki as well. So like there are definitely, I didn't even like the word alien, but I'm definitely now starting to see like I've needed to have this education about this other experiences that people have had. And that's the other thing. You're right, Rob. Like when I did the research, they flipped into let's ridicule everybody who comes forward and make them feel like what they saw and what they've experienced didn't happen at all. So yeah, it's been that way. But yeah, I mean, I didn't find out I was a starseed till 10 years later, maybe 12 years later. But at that point, like just even when I was sharing my story a couple of weeks ago, I thought, oh, I got activated by the ship. That's what happened. Like we all got this download, and we then like 10 years later, I went to have a reading and someone said, oh, you're not from here. You're from off planet, and that kind of, and then they said that I was connected to the Pleiadians, and I kind of went down that rabbit hole. But there's a whole other, so this is the thing. Starseeds have been activated by sightings and or very connected to the UFO community and been afraid to come out. So I was hoping by us having this conversation, more Starseeds will come forward and start sharing their stories and their experiences and their memories. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm kind of glad we're doing a show like this, because I've noticed there's like almost like this is how I see it. And I'm not sure if I'm right, but it seems like sometimes I feel like there's a split in these communities. Like there's like the nuts and bolts UFO people, or like, I would say like the old school ufology people. Then there's like the starseed community, which is more like spirituality. Then there's like the SSP targeted MyLab community. And sometimes they all interject, and sometimes they mix. But sometimes and then you can get into like other stuff. Like there's like the truthers and conspiracy theorists and stuff like that. Sometimes, I mean, I like to say I do all of them because I like to cover it all. But I
Yeah.
mean, it seems like some people stick to certain stuff. You know what I mean? Like for the reason why I say this, it seems like some of the old school ufology people, they're not accepting of the SSP people. Like, for example, like I know Coast to Coast AM will not even have any SSP witnesses. Like they've never had James Rink on there. They've never had Laura Eisenhower. They've never had like half the people that I've had on my show. For some reason, they won't entertain it.
That's super interesting, and that might be because the radio companies are now owned by these big corporations that are also running television, so they probably have a specific agenda. We don't like to think that, but when you first started listening to Coast with Art Bell, it was a different time. It was a different era. Right.
It was.
So yeah. And that's the thing, like that's the thing, we noticed this. And that was the other message I got too, Rob. I'm so glad that you shared that. I thought it's time for us to start merging the communities, because otherwise we're always going to be separate. Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I love about you having all these different guests on your show, because everyone has their own story and their own experience. And on a soul level, in a weird way, even though maybe it's been traumatic, it's been a part of the awakening process. And it's
and
also,
then what I was going to say is,
go ahead.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, I think the merging now is it's important for us just to accept everybody's story, right?
Yeah.
Like not one community is right or wrong, that we all have a piece of the puzzle. And we're to work together. Yeah.
And what you were just going to say is you make perfect sense, because like when you look at everything as a whole, it's all connected. Like the paranormal, the UFOs, it's all connected. And I think once people take a step back and see that, like it definitely is all connected. I think.
And I wouldn't even have been brave enough to even share my story a couple of weeks ago. Like I would have felt like I would have been ridiculed, but I've started to see other starseeds are starting to talk about it. And I thought, well, if I share my story, then other people who come for sessions will be able to, they'll feel more comfortable sharing, because it is all connected. We all chose a different path to awaken to what's going to be coming down the pipe. And the other thing, I haven't officially gotten into this, is that we're going to have to get really, really good with our intuition around scanning what is benevolent, what is non-benevolent, what is the truth. Like if something's not from off planet that's here to help us, if something's like from on planet that's been created to look like it's off planet, like all that kind of stuff, like blue beam, etc. So we're all going to have to start really focusing on, how does this make me feel? Is this a positive thing? Because been sharing with other starseeds this week, we have been taken down so many paths for years, for lifetimes, that how are we, even if they come forward now and say this is the truth, how do we even know that is the truth?
Yeah.
Right? We don't know. So we're going to have to get really, really good and really tight as communities to trust one another. And this is why I love what Rob does, because he allows a lot of different people to come on and share their journey and share their stories and their perspective. Yeah.
Well, thanks. I'm trying, I think you do the same thing. Like you focus on like starseeds and you heal people. So it's like everybody has their own,
well, we've got our own little hat, like whatever we're supposed to do. Right. Yeah. So, and I'm a communicator. I came in as a Gemini. I'm supposed to communicate. So I'm supposed to be doing podcasts and sharing with other people I'm like a media. I'm a liaison for the benevolent galactic forces. I just ask in the morning, what they want me to bring in. And so the UFO thing was super cool. And if we all think about how many scientific movies and television shows started to come to us really early, I feel like and the positive ones, right? So let's say the original Star Trek series, like most of it was super positive. Some of it was a little bit shocking, like to let us know there's all these different species out there. And they build it as fantasy, but they were already preparing us for many of us are going to see beings that don't look like us. We're going to see shapeshifters. We're going to see, what's the word I'm looking for? The bar. I always go back to the bar scene in the original Star Wars, right? Like we're going to eventually we have to be prepared for that. Like, is that going to freak us out?
Yeah.
So I love now, like when I go do grid work in the city, I get on the train system and I cloak myself and then I just ask, okay, show me who doesn't belong here. show me the shape shifter, and then they always point me to the one person that looks disheveled, that doesn't fit in at all, right? Like, that hasn't quite gotten it right, hasn't got the outfit right, doesn't. So it's super interesting, and that's the thing. Like,
Well, I got a question about that.
Yeah,
Do you
go
think
ahead.
those people are hybrids or something, or do you think they're NPCs, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think they're NPCs, but you know what? I have 2 more grid assignments to go into the city. I've got appointments, so I'll do it again, and I'll ask more questions about the individual, like where they're from and what's going on, and then I'll bring back more information, because I hadn't gotten that far. I've just gotten to the brave part of like sitting there and scanning all the people now. Because for the longest time, what I was given to do, and this is before the lockdowns, was if I ever ended up in a really large group of people, was to ask for their angelics and their higher self to start working with them. Because so many people are just wandering around on the planet. They still have no idea what's going on. Some people still think we're back in 2020. Like, they're not even aware that we've all moved on and it's been 4 years, right? So that's what I was doing, but I'm glad that you share that. But I do feel like, yeah, they're NPCs, they're background people, but they also could be other beings from other planets observing us.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I was going to say, if people didn't notice there's not as many people as usual in the chat, it's because there's 2 events going on right now. There was the Spaced Out Radio gathering, and I'm sure a lot of the people that watch Spaced Out Radio watch Pink Bella's show and watch my show. And then there was also Journey to Truth is going on right now. I was going to try to be there, but I couldn't raise all the funds, so I couldn't go. But I mean, that is going on, and a lot of the people that watch Journey to Truth watch my show and watch her Pink Bella's show.
Where's the Journey to Truth event? Where's that?
It's in Grafton, Illinois.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I know. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, this year is just exploding with events, with people waking up, with people wanting to go to these events. And I loved, like, when you just did that live at your local event with Maya, because the thing is that's showing all the different people, right? They're talking about UFOs, but they're also giving Reiki, and that's the thing. And that was the message I got. Like, it's just time for us to start merging the communities and let go. Like, no more ridicule. Like, if someone's had an experience, we're to honor that they've had that experience, and understand, like, we're not all in, like, we're collectively here, but we're not all experiencing the same reality, and we all chose a different path to wake up. So even though I had that experience first, Rob, it went away. Like, I just was listening to, while I was researching for the show, I read Whitley Strieber's book way back in whenever it came out, like 86, 87.
Communion?
And because back then that's all we had. We just had books, right? So I just I saw the cover and I immediately grabbed it. I think I grabbed it at the airport because I was traveling a lot back then. And I just read it. And I had a friend come over and ridiculed me he knew what that book was about. And he ridiculed me for having that book. So I just shut down. I thought, well, apparently I can't talk to you about this. So I put everything away. And it's just been this last couple of months, I'm thinking of more starseeds, more people are coming out and expressing beyond the UFO community that they've had experiences. And I think that's part of the disclosure for sure. Yeah.
I think even like and I don't want to get too much in the pandemic because I don't want them to take down the video, but I'll just say, like, during the time we were in lockdowns, it kind of woke a lot of people up. And then once those people woke up, they started to, like, say, like, well, wait a minute, I had a paranormal experience or I had a UFO experience. Then they run into channels like ours, and it kind of like it takes them on their journey. So there's a lot of people that haven't been. I mean, I haven't been nearly as awake as long as you. You've been awake since the 90s.
It's been a long wait. I've been waiting.
But mine was a little bit different. Like, I was saying, like, I always used to listen to Art Bell when I was a kid. Like, I always had an interest in the paranormal and UFOs. Like, I would listen to Art Bell in the early 2000s. So I guess you could say I was semi-awake, but I didn't know about any kind of spiritual awakening stuff. I just knew about UFOs and the paranormal. And then I was telling people yesterday, I used to listen to this show from, like, after I couldn't find Art Bell anymore, or he wasn't coming on. He was still on, but he wasn't coming on, like, in on the radio here. I found this internet radio show called Open Minds, and it was when Alejandro Rojas, he's like a big name ufologist now, he got his start on that show, and he was like kind of like a man on the streets guy. He would report, like, all the UFO sightings and stuff. And I remember listening to that from, like, 2001 to 2008, but that I didn't have my actual awakening until 2016 when I was like, when I awoke to like that, like, you know, there's something weird about this reality and all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think that that's cool. I think you chose a different way to wake up, right? So even you being finding that show, and if we look back at even Art Bell, like how ahead of his time he was, right?
Yeah.
That he even found an audience to be able to do the Coast to Coast show and offer an outside perspective that was, you know, that was. And okay, so while I was doing my research and checking into Area 51 and Bob Lazar, what's his name? George, is it Knapp? Okay,
George Knapp.
so yeah, so he had that talk show that he had John Lear and a whole bunch of people on his talk show. And I looked back and it was 1987. And I thought, okay, no internet, no opposing forces really, like it's a local show. So no one's even going to know about it really, except for people who are watching it locally. I just found it recently. Somebody had put it on YouTube. Like I had to go back. Where was I in 1987? I'd lost a family member. So I was sad that year. I wasn't looking for UFO information. I kind of got sidetracked, right? So many of us just chose different ways to wake up. And the reason I ended up getting into Reiki and quantum healing is because I personally could not find answers to help my health the original way. You know, like go to the MD, go to the specialist. I did that for a year. I got no help whatsoever. So I started, you know, going to see naturopaths, and then when I found out about energy healing, like immediately this light bulb went on. I went, oh, I want to try that, right? So that's just how, you know, and a lot of us that offer healing, we have done the healing on ourselves first, and then that's why we offer it, you know. And I probably came in, that was probably my plan, was to assist and, you know, help people awaken through that. But your plan, right, was to really get into and dive into the UFO stuff and really understand it to prepare you for now. So it's all really perfect, really.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a good point. Yeah, I was always into like the Bob Lazar story, and then like I got to interview Jim Goodall, he's been on a bunch of podcasts. He's like a aerospace historian, and he knows like John Lear and all those guys. He knows John Lear and Bob Lazar. He used to go out. I told this story before, but he used to go out to the desert with them, like where they would have to wear like certain kinds of pants or like leggings because the scorpions would bite your feet because they'd be out in the desert right by Area 51, and they would see when the government would launch all their ships. Like Bob Lazar told them, he told like John Lear and Jim Goodall when the government was going to launch these ships, and they went to it, and like it really happened, you know, from what he told me, you know. I mean, I believe him, you know. I don't see why he would lie, but I mean, like, so, you know, but I still think I think, I don't know. I see, me, for example, I can't differentiate between a regular craft or a alien craft and a government craft. I mean,
well, we're gonna get better at that, because I haven't really dived into that either. But I think that that's part of our role this year, is to start looking. And maybe one of the shows we can do is we'll just pull up some photos, and I can do a scan of them.
Well, what happens is they say the government craft have like seams and rivets in them and stuff, and they said whereas like the alien UFOs are like supposed to be like seamless, like they're like real, like, you know, like they're beautiful, you know, like actually, you know,
they're sleek.
Yeah, exactly.
They're the new model from like millions of years in the future. So I thought what we could do, let's just talk about that a little bit. So, because an Area 51 kind of ties into the X-File thing too. So I think what happened was a couple weeks ago when I was looking for my experiences and I was researching that, the Bob Lazar interview when he was on Joe Rogan came up. So I watched that, and then I went down the rabbit hole, right? And then I found George Knapp, and I went on to that. And thank you for letting us know about Jim, right? Because I went to go find your show, Rob, and I couldn't find it.
Really?
Yeah. So I was going to suggest if you track it down and then reshare it for all of us, I think that would be super cool. But I searched for it and I couldn't find it. So anyway,
let me find it right now, because I have a trick. Like, you know what you can do is you can go into your YouTube studio, and then you just type in the name of the guest or the podcast, and YouTube will find it for you. So I'll find it real quick, and then I'll share it in the chat. Like, hopefully it's still up. you know?
Yeah, well, that's why I wanted to share that with you. So I thought what we would do is like, oh, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Bob Lazar about Area 51 because some of you might know all about it. This is me talking about it's important that we all understand like the main areas, the main events, like Roswell was 47. I believe Area 51 was like a couple of years later or in around the same time. So Bob Lazar worked at Area 51. And then he got released, and then he was ridiculed by a number of people. But George Knapp believed in him. And I did find, because of what you shared with me the other day, I did find the connection between John Lear and Bob Lazar. Now, John Lear's transitioned. I'm not sure if Jim is still here. I hadn't gotten that far to listen to him, but I'll listen to him.
Jim's still here, and I just realized what
good.
happened with that show. I had to take it down because he talked about some stuff that would have gotten a strike from YouTube. So that video might have disappeared. But now, what I realize now is I could have put it on my Rumble. You know, I don't know why I didn't do that.
It's okay. You can add that to your list. Maybe you have it somewhere, or maybe it's a good a good excuse to have him back on the show.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Right? Because he's kind of the memory now. I mean, what I pick up from Bob Lazar is Bob Lazar has gotten a lot of information out for all of us, but he's been harassed, and everybody in his world was harassed to the extent of like he's never been able to study science the way he's a scientist the way he could. That all got taken away from him. So anyway, he one of the big key things I thought was super cool was they found nine ships, like a dig. Like they were like, it was like an archaeology dig, and they are flying some of them. So that came out of Bob Lazar. I thought what we could do is we'll just talk a little bit about everybody, and then I can pull some cards around them just to see if there's any other information. But what I got for Bob Lazar yesterday is that he's telling the truth. He got the sun, which is like he's on, the light side. He came in to be a truther and to bring in the information. And one of the reasons he brought the information forward was he doesn't feel it's fair to humanity, that humanity doesn't know that we're not alone in the universe, because that's one of the big questions, right? He also got the King of Cups, and that's also a very, very, like, he's got a big heart. He's a very authentic person. The Seven of Wands came in, and it came in upside down. So he worked very, very hard for them with the work that he did. And then that was like the rug got pulled out from underneath him when he got removed. So yeah, so you're right. Like I did get the connection with him and John Lear that they would go out and look at the ships flying, like they knew kind of when they would fly them and test fly them. So there are a couple of them that are off-planet technology that they're testing. Yeah.
Also, they knew about the government was cut. Like they had his phone tapped. Like this is like a known fact too. Like they knew his wife was having an affair. Like I guess like the government kind of like ruined his life because like the government thought, I guess his wife thought he was having an affair because he couldn't tell his wife about his job. So he would leave every day and go to Area 51 to work. He can't tell his wife about his job. So his wife thinks he's cheating on him. So what's she going to do? She's going to have an affair. So the government found out about that because they had his phone tapped, and they were going to release him because they thought once he found out about the cheating, that he would become too unstable and they couldn't have him in that kind of environment. But they were the cause of it. So it's like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
I saw that too. Like and then he was blown away because he had no idea. So when they debriefed him with all the information and said, we're letting you go because your wife is la la la. And then he had no idea. So he was blown away by that as well. Right. So yeah, a lot happened to him. Yeah. I just pulled a couple of cards around him just to sort of see. It was, even though he had a hard time letting go, it was like part of his plan. Like he got the number 8, the sovereignty card. So he came in to be a sovereign being. So there were some things like, everything unfolded because really deep down he's a truther, and he didn't feel right that all this information was being concealed by the public. So that was like the struggle within. And he also got the emergence card. So he really, it's called number 11, creation rebirth. He really stepped into like his higher self and his actual mission when he left. Do you remember why they released him, Rob? I can't remember the story, but why they finally released him Was it because had he done that interview with George Knapp? Like, is that what happened?
Well, I think things were starting to he found out they found the whole cheating thing happened, and they were going to release him. But then he leaked to George Knapp about the UFOs. Like he wanted, for whatever reason, he got the idea to leak it to George Knapp. Then he started to worry about himself, so he felt like he needed to cover his ass. So once he wanted to cover his ass, he did a main interview with George Knapp, and then he came on Art Bell too. That was a big deal coming on Art Bell because at the time Art Bell had millions of I think George Knapp had a local Las Vegas. This was before George Knapp was on Coast to Coast, so George Knapp had a local Las Vegas talk show. So, but that still brought awareness. But when he came on Art Bell, that was when it really but he might have been already out of Area 51 at that point when he did Art Bell. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the story. I think it was because of the George Knapp interview.
Yeah.
I think the higher ups got word of that. And they're like, no. And also I think George Knapp was saying too that he tried, they tried so much to confirm his story, but of course all those people were gotten to as well. And they were threatened as well. So it was very challenging to get confirmation that Bob actually even worked there. Yeah.
Did you ever hear there's an interesting rumor that goes around, and I don't like this because I don't think it's provable. There's a certain skeptical channel, and I'm not going to give the guy's channel any credit because I don't like what he does. What he does is he kind of puts down whistleblowers, he puts down SSP people, he puts down that's his whole shtick is he calls himself a truth seeker. That might have just gave something away, but he's not really seeking truth. He's just putting people down. You know what I mean? And I don't like that. But what I was saying was he tried saying Bob Lazar was a pimp. And I don't think there's
that's why I pulled some cards on him. No, he's authentic. And the other thing you have to think about is he hasn't done that many shows. Even for Joe Rogan had him on, I think 2019. That was a big coup because it took a lot to get him to come out and want to even talk about. And even then, I don't know if you've watched it. He's very vague.
I did. He was getting migraines the whole time.
And he doesn't give names because he doesn't want anybody else to be harassed. And the other interesting thing about that interview was his whole identity got wiped. There's not even any information that he even exists or that he went to high school. So all those movies about where people have their identities removed, that's what happened to Bob Lazar. So if they go to that extent, he has something to share and some stories to tell, right? And I was thinking how cool that we actually have an individual that was so brave to come forward and share that because really we've talked about this before. There aren't that many people that are left from that era.
Yeah, right? I agree.
Yeah. So anyway, that's why I pulled some cards on him. He is authentic. His story is authentic.
I was just wanted to answer a question from the Andromedan. This is a little bit off the track, but the Andromedan says John Lear, because we were talking about John Lear. He said John Lear said there are more than 9 planets in the solar system. I'm wondering if that's true. I can say that Matt LaCroix.
I just got my God bumps. Yes.
He proved that there's a brown dwarf planet and it's pulling on the axis of our planet and it's causing some of the natural disruptions that we're causing, the earthquakes and stuff like that. People would have to look into it. It's really interesting though. And if you want to call it Nibiru or Planet X, whatever it is, it's out there. It's really far away though, but it's having an effect. It's in our gravitational orbit or whatever, but it's also having an effect on our I don't know. I'm no scientist. You know what I mean?
No, but but that's the other thing. We only know what we've been told.
Yeah.
Right? So if they're still not sharing authentically, there's more than, except for these few brave souls that have come forward that were part of it, that saw some of the beings that they interviewed and experimented on and, they have the craft and everything, so they know. And the file, I guess some of the files have been released, but that's the thing. How many planets are out there? What are they doing? I still think the moon is a station.
I think it is too, but they also there was a video of Robert Harrington. He was the chief naval officer from the observatory or whatever back in the day. He met with Zachariah Sitchin, and they shared information that each other had on Nibiru, supposedly. And Gerald Clark shared that video a while ago. You can still look it up. It's Robert Harrington and Bob Lazar, or not. I'm thinking Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar in the brain. No, it's Robert Harrington and Zachariah Sitchin, and they meet and they track the orbit of Nibiru, or what they call Nibiru. But you could call this the brown dwarf. You could call it Planet X. Whatever it is, it's out there. You know.
And,
I mean,
and again, maybe that's another space station. Like maybe that's another thing that's been brought into our solar system, you know, to assist us. That's a whole show on its own.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, what do you think about the moon? I think the moon definitely could be a space station, because I think it's weird how it all affects us when we have a full moon, and you know, like they say, say there's something to that, you know?
Yeah, no, I think that's going to be one of the truths that's going to come out about what planets are actually planets, what isn't a planet and is a space station. So I just saw recently. I'd have to track down the source because I can't remember where I watched it, but that people have seen battles going on in and around the moon.
Wow.
And then somebody else posted, you know, the moon and then the Death Star beside it. And I was like, yeah, that's what I think. Like, I think it's an entity that's been used like not in good ways to affect frequencies for humanity. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, so maybe what the battles have been around is that the dark ones owned it, and that the benevolent ETs are trying to take it back for us as well. So
here's a good question. This is an interesting one. I don't know what you'll think of this. I'd love to get your opinion on this. I have an opinion, but I'll tell you. So this is from Emma the cat and friends. That's because her cat's name's Emma, and then she also has two cats named Enki and Enlo, which I think is adorable. Yeah, she's pretty amazing. But she says some people think there are an Earthlands outside of this reality who are looking in at us. Do you think this is true? People outside this reality, but still on planet Earth.
Anything is possible. Like that kind of reminds me. That reminds me of Horton Hears the Who, right? Where like somebody was looking at a little flower and there was a whole like reality inside the flower. So yeah, I mean, there's absolutely.
Yeah, and there might be something to those flat Earth maps, like where they say that there's like an ice wall in Antarctica, and then there's continents that exist outside the ice wall. I'm not saying that I agree that the Earth's flat. But I think there might be something to the maps that maybe there's more territory outside of Antarctica that they're not telling us about, where maybe different beings and different people exist. You know what I mean? That could still mean though that we're in a round spherical world, or we could be in a matrix and the Earth is what you think it is. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I know it's kind of exciting in a way to think that like eventually this information will come forward, and that's why we have to really zone in on our intuition about what we feel is real for ourselves and what isn't. But yeah, I feel like it's a lot of different things. I mean, there's so many. I think the more information we get, the more questions we have, for sure. I do feel like the Antarctic. Yeah, I do feel like there's a reason why a lot. We're only allowed to go so many places. We're not allowed to go to certain other places. Things have been sealed off and that kind of thing. So I think there's way more. That's part of our awakening. There's way more going on than what meets the eye, for sure.
I agree.
I looked at John Lear just a little bit. Now it's interesting that they were all connected, because I didn't know that. I didn't know that he was the son of the father had created the Learjet. So that was
he was. It's interesting, right?
That's really cool, right? And then and then I watched a little. He was talking on George Knapp, and I watched them having a discussion. And he was the only one that would come forward that would talk about anything at that point. That's kind of how it unfolded. And he was hanging out with Bob Lazar, and they were watching the events, right? But I loved how I went back and watched the interview, and what I loved about it was he basically came out and said like, oh, there's like 90 or more species, and many of them are not benevolent, right? And I thought that's so interesting. He was so like, he just said it matter of fact, and I thought that makes sense. It does make sense. Anyway, I pulled some cards around him, and he got really good cards as well. So what he was sharing also was authentic. So he also got the Sun. So the Sun is like one of the best cards in the tarot deck. It's all about like truth and new beginnings and whatever. So he came in to be a truther. And you got the star card. So he actually is a starseed, and he's connected to the benevolent. So he also could have been sent in to like be brave enough to share all of that, because that was part of his role. And he also got the King of Cups. So he's very authentic as well. And unfortunately, he's transitioned. He left in 2022, which is too bad, because he would have been a great guest on your show.
Oh, I would have loved to have him. Yeah. He was like an Art Bell legend too. He was one of the first people that started. I mean, like there's episodes of Art Bell, like some of his first shows he did were with John Lear, like where and John Lear was
very well spoken. Like he was very well spoken because he did work. He did fly planes. He did, he worked in the military, all of that. So he had all that background, but he was very well spoken as well.
He came on Carrie Cassidy's show too. If you're a fan of Carrie.
Okay.
Yeah, there's interviews with him and Carrie Cassidy.
I'll go look.
Yeah.
So,
one thing I wanted to ask you about was X-Files. Like, so you started watching X-Files again. Like, what did you take from it? And like, I didn't get a chance to watch it because I'm always, like, did you watch any episodes? And like, what did you take from it?
I did. Oh, just before we get there, I just pulled a card for John Lear. You're gonna love this. It looks like either the moon or the earth. And
that's awesome.
It says higher perspective. So he came in, it says review, perspective, and overlook, number 21. So he literally came in to learn everything and then share it and like hand that baton on and be brave enough to like just take the consequences and let humanity know. And I was very sad that he had transitioned, that he's left.
Yeah. It's sad. We're losing a lot of people. We lost, I mean, I can name some. We lost John Lear. We lost Jordan Maxwell. A psychic named Robert Lindsay Milne died. Then I had a guy I had on my show 7 times. You want to hear something really weird? So this happened twice so far. And okay, so I was supposed to have Robert Lindsay Milne on my show, and then Michael Lynch died recently. I had him on my show 7 times. They were both scheduled. And they both verified with me 2 days before they died. So they verified that they were going to do the show with me 2 days before they died. Then they died 2 days later. I didn't tell Michael Lynch's wife that because I don't know what to say. It's weird. It's just like maybe that's just people are transitioning and that's just what happens in the world. You know what I mean? Like I hope I'm not some bearer of bad luck though. No. I'm getting. I'd have to look. Like I think after the show, I'll have you send me their names. And I'll do a little research on them because I'm getting the feeling that that's not a coincidence, not connected to you. I have a feeling that they didn't die naturally, but but it can be looked like it is natural, right? Like it can always be set up to look like like in the truthers community, a lot of souls that came out during the 2 years of lockdowns that came forward to share their truth about what was really happening. They're not here anymore. Yeah. And they, one of them actually, like within 2 days before it happened, he said, if anything happens to me, it wasn't natural. And he was gone in 2 days. So, so they have ways of using like energetic frequencies. They also have ways of like making something very toxic. Like if they know you're going to go get food or you're going to order food or like, just like the movies, the whole espionage thing. So I'll look at like, you'll send me the names later, Rob, and then I'll look into them and maybe we can talk about them next, but it's not connected to you. It's interesting though, right? But it's almost like maybe that somebody didn't really want them to share their information. Someone sent me a $10 PayPal. Like she wanted to know like what like kind of like her situation was. She says, okay. I can read this to you real quick. I just checked my email and I saw this. She says, hi, Robin, Pink Bella, aloha. I was hoping Pink Bella could please tell me if there's anything I should know at this moment, if there's any galactic messages as well. Also, if she has time, does it mean for my daughters and I when we had same identical shared dream a couple years ago? I think that's really interesting.
That is.
It says we were jumping from Amberg, Germany to San Diego, then Berlin, then back to our house in a base in Germany. What's that mean, jumping?
Like in the dream, like at one point you're in one location and then the next sequence you're somewhere completely different and then you move back and forth. So you know, in dreams, like it's like a movie. Like in dreams, you can just transport. That's so cool. Well, yeah, that's really, really cool.
Do you think dreams are just parallel realities?
I think so. Yeah.
I think so too. I really do. I really think there's something to that. Do you get your God bumps when we tell you that? Or like, what do you?
Yes. And also total God bumps. And we also get an opportunity to do a lot of healing and clearing with other people. We get messages about where we're going to go and what's coming up. I had this really strange dream about this show today. And that when you were setting it up, that this person from my past was also connected to it. Like that he somehow was energetically connected to the show. This is from my tech world a million years ago. And I woke up thinking that was actually, oh yeah, that person's connected. And I went, no, he's not. So I did a clearing around it. And I thought, that's so weird. Right. So I often get shown really strange information in dreams so I know what to release and let go of. And
I was going to say too, I think that also it's easier if we do the show once a month because it seems like we have so much more to talk about. And the fans probably like it when we do it every 2 weeks, but I think they get a better show if we do it. I think all the shows are good. So I
got a brain release. I got instead of 2 weeks, I got this brain release and I got all these ideas that came in. And it's I needed to go study to catch up to you. So just briefly about XFILES, because we can talk, we'll do it another time. I've only gotten into a few seasons, but I want to tell you the first, and then we'll get to the ladies' readings. We can go to the readings. The first season came out in 1993. I was living in a building in this area where because it was filmed in Vancouver. So I was living in a building where people were working on the set and they were wandering around the building with their jackets on. And I didn't understand about synchronicities back then, but I would walk out in the hallway. I go, why am I always seeing the X-Files thing? So I did start watching it. But what I wanted to share with you, even in episode 1, they already dropped information about Area 51 and Roswell in the first episode.
That's amazing. I got to watch that.
Yeah. So I just want to, what it's doing for me, I'm looking back on it, kind of historically now on the alien and the ET stuff. And I'm understanding that they had resources that were giving them information to help them write the show. Because if we think about it, so let's say even when Bob Lazar came out, it was a time where the internet still wasn't active. A lot of the documentation was on cards and paper, and it's probably all gone now. It wasn't digital. And even, the X-Files started just before the internet kind of got big. The internet sort of started to get big in 94. So I thought it's super interesting going back that they obviously had resources that were giving them information for the public to start preparing them. Yeah.
That's interesting. I wonder who their leak was. Do you think their leak is like a ufologist, or do you think their leak is a government leak?
Well, I did go look for it. I do know that there's a lady, I think her name's Annie Jacobson. Does that name ring a bell?
Yeah, I think I've seen her on other shows and stuff.
She's been on Joe Rogan, but she talks about she's more about what Jim is about. She likes to talk about, she's written a lot of books, and she likes to talk a lot about the flights and the technology. Aerospace. Thank you. But apparently she was a resource. She said that on a show, but I haven't been able to confirm that.
Oh my God. I didn't even think of this. I don't know how you'll think of this, but there's a guy that I have on my show. I forgot to tell you all about this. His name's Richard Allen Miller, and he's a legend in the metaphysical community. He's a little wild. He's a little bit unruly. When he comes on, because he's getting older now and he'll just say whatever, you know what I mean? But he's not, I don't want people to get the wrong idea. He's awesome. I love Dr. Richard. They call him Doc Ram, Dr. Richard Allen Miller, but they say the Fox Mulder character was based on him. But he says that in his bio, that he had something to do with also, I'm sure they had multiple sources, right? You know what I mean?
Did. And the ones that have come forward that are saying that they're part of it were at MIT at the time. Including Chris Carter's brother. Chris Carter's brother was at MIT at that time, and he would go to his brother and get scientific information. So, but there's way more. You don't just come in with the big guns on the first show without having a resource that's saying we want you to have all this information in the first show.
The Andromedan, you say Richard Allen Miller from Rex Bear shows. Goddamn well know that Richard Allen Miller's been on this show 5 times.
Cool.
And you can look that up. But it's probably on my but I like Rex too, and I think he's a good guy. But I'm just saying, like, I've had Dr. Richard Allen Miller on here like 4 times. Sometimes I have to take the show down because I have to walk the YouTube tightrope, guys. Like, and the YouTube tightrope is if there's anything controversial, I have to take it down and put it on Rumble because people are getting demonetized. People are losing their channels. Ivan Teller just lost his channel. Journey to Truth just lost their channel. Forbidden Knowledge News just lost their channel. It's really walking it.
This channel is G-rated. Basically, YouTube is G-rated. We kind of have to skirt around some things, and then I know. I like. It's weird how some channels can get away with saying certain things and bringing out information, and then other channels is like, no, you can't say that. So.
I know, right? I know it sucks. I always wonder that. I wonder if that's like, I don't know what that.
Maybe they're being sponsored. Like maybe they're being given information. Like you can say this, but you have to say it the way we ask you to.
Yeah. And when there's someone unruly like me, they don't want that. They want it. They want a narrative.
Anyway,
maybe.
It's okay, but you're doing great. And I think that's the thing is that this is a momentum year. 2024 is this momentum year of you can't stop us now. Like we're not waiting for you yahoos in the big offices to give us the green light to give us a little piece of information that we already know. Like now I'm already seeing, okay, you're going to a conference. There's all these conferences, like it's really picking up momentum. And I have to tell you, there's someone else that I'm going to have on my show in 2 weeks. And this is the weirdest thing. I watched an X-Files episode and it was about the Antarctica, right? So it was about them finding a ship frozen in the Antarctica. And I woke up the next morning. I went, oh, I wonder if my friend in Sedona knows about this. I get this newsletter. He's going to be on a ET contact cruise that's going to be coming through Vancouver and going up to Alaska. Like I get
it Brad Olson?
No. I'll announce it later. But anyway, what I want to share with you is I reached out to him. I said, do you want to be on my show? Because you're going to be in my neck of the woods. Like it's crazy. And he's just jumped from basically being like a healer and a quantum, like, reaching a lot of people to starting to go. He's another bridge. He's starting to show up at some of the conferences. And I thought that's so interesting. We're all getting the message at the same time. So apparently we're in the same meeting. We were all in the meeting saying it's time to merge all the communities. So that's super cool. Yeah.
That is awesome.
That is really, really cool. Yeah. Okay. What was the lady's name that PayPal?
Yeah, we got like 4 or 5 people that requested. Because I got some super chats too. So maybe we could go through them. Like maybe we could do like one call. I don't know. I don't want to tell you what.
No, I'll just do a couple cards for everyone. What was the lady that was going from Germany back to the US and everything?
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. Her name is Tiffany Rumping, and I can try to pull up her profile. And she says, I'll read her thing again. She says, hello, Rob and Pink Bella, aloha. I was hoping Pink Bella could please tell me if there's anything I should know at this moment and if there's any galactic messages as well. Also, if she has time, what does it mean for my daughters and I when we had the same identical shared dream a couple years ago? We were jumping from Amberg, Germany to San Diego, then Berlin, then back to our house at our base in Germany.
Yeah. Well, okay. So for the dream, I always look like what Rob and I were just saying. We move into a parallel reality when we're sleeping, and we can travel like that. We can transport like that. So it doesn't take, we don't have to go to the airport and get on a plane and whatever. Like we can go from Germany, and the fact that you all collectively had that dream, you were all together. So you all went on a mission together. And yeah. I don't know if you've traveled to California since then, or if you have family there, if it's a dream of yours to go to California, but you all went there in this collective dream. So it did happen. So that's really cool.
That's amazing. So that's an amazing experience, Tiffany.
Yeah. So I'm asking your higher self to just bring forward messages just to see what's going on. Let me just see. Okay. So let me just pull one more message. I just want to sort of see the overall theme right now. This is super interesting. Okay, so this Seraphim card's been coming forward like for all of my clients, and I think I did like 2 readings like on my channel last week, and it kept coming forward. This is actually connected to the Jedi Order, and this is what I got last week, which is a real order, everyone, by the way. And many of us are being called to recalibrate ourselves to this order of individuals who came in to protect the earth and humanity, and a lot of us are in physical training. right now. I've gone back into working out and everything as well. We're to strengthen up our bodies. But when the seraphim came in, I don't know if you all can see, there's like a sword there, a sort of like a lightsaber. The seraphim are very connected and apparently around the God source energy. So there are these very high frequency angelic beings. So you're connected to that. You're going through a voice activation and an angelic attunement. You're also, so you also might be experiencing like a lot of upgrades and consciousness expansion right now because of the solar flares. So those solar flares that are going on right now, everyone, are expanding our consciousness. It's like we're going through a tunnel. So we're going through this huge tunnel, and then when they finally end and everyone gets some sleep, we'll wake up feeling different. We'll just have more information and more of our consciousness expanded. Okay.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I'm getting like galactically. All right. So right now, you'll have more galactic information that's coming in. You're to clear old stories, release anything that doesn't isn't working for you right now. And this is a great message for everyone. Decluttering is so important right now. So important to just like, if there's a drawer you've been wanting to clean out, do it. If there's a closet, you know, go through and find clothes and donate, do it. Because that helps us move into our new timeline and helps us manifest. Okay. So that's Akashic Records came in, and just galactically, they're just letting me know that as you're doing that, more galactic information will come in for you. Okay.
Well, that's amazing. I'll get to the next one. Let me see here.
Hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah. This one's from the Andromedan. The Andromedan wants to know, I was wondering what universe I'm from, he says.
I thought you were. I thought you were from the Andromedan universe, Andromeda.
Yeah.
Do you want to be from somewhere else now? What's going on? Just trying to. Okay, I'm gonna just. He's next show. He'll change his name, right? Okay. I'm just gonna ask your higher self to just see if there's any other information that wants to come in today for you. Where is Andromeda located on the planet?
I think he's he has a really interesting past. I think he's a Syrian refugee that moved to Europe. So, you know, I have that in common with him because I'm Lebanese and he's like a Syrian refugee.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that was your background.
Well, I'm like fourth generation American. So like my great great grandparents came to America, but my ethnic background is like my dad's Lebanese and my mom's Greek and Italian, and then I have a little bit of Irish in me too, you know. But it's an interesting mix, like for sure.
No kidding. Yeah. For the Andromeda, the information that's coming in for you today is I know this is so interesting. So the system that we're in right now is where you're supposed to be. Like it's where you like this, where you got transported in to be here. You're supposed to be here because we're all transforming within and changing, like either by being a truth seeker, either by being, you know, helping our community, either by being on mission. We're here to flip this universe and this galaxy into what it's supposed to be. And I've said this in the past, but the Andromedan and Milky Way galaxies are remerging. And many believe that the split happened, and both, you know, Andromeda and galaxy went like millions of, you know, light years away because of the downfall of Earth and our solar system and the galactic battles. So many of us are here as a frequency, not by accident. We're here to help flip it and help with the merger that's coming forward. So the answer for you today is you're from the massive galaxy that is reforming, which is the emergence of the Andromedan system in our system. How cool is that?
That is cool. He told me he's not from Syria. He said he's from its neighbor. So the two neighbors that I know of in Syria, there's Israel. I know he's not Israeli though. I'm thinking there's Jordan, there's Iraq, and there's Lebanon. So he has to be from one of those places. I would say Iraq, maybe he's from Iraq. You know?
Yeah. But anyway, his message today is he's part of the team that's supposed to be here for the merger of the two galaxies. That's super cool.
That's awesome. And
that's never come in for anyone. That's never come in for anyone Andromeda. So thank you for asking that.
He said yes. He's from Iraq. I think he's from Iraq. So I think he should start a channel too. I think he would do good with a YouTube channel where he could start sharing some of his information because, like, he's young too. He's like I think he's 28 or 30 years old. So like he could start now, and then in 10 years he would have a huge YouTube channel. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
and Andromeda, if you don't want to be seen, you can do a podcast. Podcasts are huge.
Yeah,
right
you
now.
could do an audio podcast. Yeah, like you should do that, Andromeda.
Because everyone I know is talking about podcasts right now. Like people are going to get the information one way or the other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool.
I agree.
I have a cute story to tell you. So when this all happened to me a couple weeks ago, I went to a little local store and there was a fellow there from Central America. And he was a bit chatty that day. So he actually got the nerve up to ask me what I did for a living. I just chit-chatted away a little bit of stuff. And then I said to him, yeah. And then I also do podcasts with a really cool guy in the States. And we talk about UFOs. You should have seen this. You should have seen his face, Rob. Went silent. Didn't say another word. And I just got my little thing and I left. And I thought, well, that'll keep him quiet. And that'll let him know, like, don't ask people questions unless you want the real information. So that's going to be my new thing now. My new thing is I'm going to drop that and see where people are at and see if they respond or whatever. But I was just like in my little happy place. Go home now and watch UFO things. But it was hilarious. And he got super quiet and I've seen him since then and he hardly said a word to me. So he went into some kind of shock.
I think that's going to change though. I think like the more that this stuff comes out, the more people will become accepting to it.
2024. I saw a ship in 1984. Like, I think it's time that we all, like, there's millions of conferences now. I think it's like, and the other really interesting thing is, like, I remember Shirley MacLaine writing about her UFO experiences at Machu Picchu, and she wrote that in books, and her books came out in the late 80s. So I just assumed and then she was on talk shows. She wasn't ridiculed. So how come? Right?
Yeah.
So the thing is that, and I thought, well, he's from Central America. He must know about UFOs. Like there's so many UFO sightings in South America and Central America, but he just clammed up. So maybe I touched like a nerve. Maybe he had an experience, but he didn't want to talk.
Yeah. You never know. Maybe he's been abducted and he doesn't want to talk about it. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. Yeah. So I had to share that with you because I've not ever talked to anybody about that in the public yet. So that's my new thing.
Wow. Well, I'll go through these. These more for like I don't know if they want cards or if they just want guidance.
Okay.
So maybe guidance. Like for example, this one's from Angel Wings, and she wants to ask you. She says, "Can I get clarity on my newest upgrades and transformations I'm currently going through?" She says, "I'm ascending too fast. I was told."
I don't think there's an ascending too fast, but there definitely is an integration period. Like I understand what you're saying. I don't think you are ascending too fast, Angel Wings. The reason being is that a bunch of us are accelerating right now because this year, we're already in May.
It goes so fast.
Somebody made a joke recently and said, before you know it, we're going to be shopping for Christmas. And I went, I know.
When I went to get your bio today, I was like looking for like past shows we did. I found one from 3 months ago, the day I was late. Do you remember the day I was late? I slept. I took a nap and like that was 3 months ago. That seemed like it happened yesterday. That's crazy.
I know. Let me just pull some cards for you. But I think a bunch of us are accelerating right now. And the reason we're accelerating is because already we're in May and so much more is coming up that we don't even know.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pull. I know Angel Wings, you like dragons too. So I'm going to pull a dragon for you. I just want to see overall. So right off the bat, I've got this deck that's got frequencies. So if you're feeling like a lot of symptoms right now, you're to listen to frequencies, some kind of binaural beat. So one that came forward for you is 639 hertz. Now that's interesting because that was the time that Rob's email came to me this morning. Whoa.
Wow.
I love this one. So you also got like a 9 consciousness. So you're quantum jumping. You're leaping into the next levels of your expansion, and it's just time. I don't think I know when I went through many periods of like awakening and like start stop. But now it's like we're all being accelerated to make sure we're with our right group and we're doing what we're supposed to be doing right now. So, but if you are going through ascension symptoms, because we just got another massive solar flare, make sure you're hydrating and resting, and you'll know when to go. I did get, yeah, it's a really good time for you to just meditate as well and be quiet. I'm just going to pull one more card from this deck and then a dragon for you. Yeah, it's beyond our, like, I'll tell you, these solar flares, like, I got hit with it before. So the first big one came in on last Thursday. Wednesday night, I slept for 2 hours. I had no idea that a solar flare was coming in. I was just wired. And then I crashed that Thursday night. And my
did you guys get the auroras up there?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I'll share some photos with you. I didn't, I felt them. I didn't see them, but a friend took photos like far away, and they're behind me because I've got mountains behind me. So that's how close they were. Yeah, yeah. That's the first time I've lived here. You know, I've moved around, but I've lived here my whole life. But what I want, that's the other thing. Like, my team just said to me Thursday night when I crashed, it's going to be like this for the next week. Like, you're going to have times where you're going to be wired, and you're going to have times where you're going to need to sleep for 15 hours. And it's just what we're all getting we're getting maps, we're getting information. Like, this is what we're going to be doing next. Right. Okay. Your Merkaba's also repairing and healing and activating. So you got the Merkaba activation, and then I'll pull a dragon for you. So yeah, just take really good care of yourself right now, but don't worry about ascending too fast, because we can direct it to a certain degree, but with these solar flares that are coming in right now, we just have to ride it out, because that's the bigger plan, right? Like, that's our, like, yeah, you could go to your team and say, slow it down. They'll say, sorry, like, this is a collective upgrade. Like, everybody's going through it right now, all the plants, the animals, everyone. So you just have to ride it out, right? Okay. Oh, I love this. You got the dark blue galactic dragon. So this dragon will really help you out. This dragon actually helps you to listen to the voice of the universe, but it also allows you to integrate your divine blueprint and level you up for your service and your mission. The dark blue galactic dragon. Love that.
Wow. We could do one more, I guess. Like, I don't have I got to go to the bathroom. That's why I got to pee. I drank a lot of fluids because I went for a run today, and now I got to go.
One more. Let's just do one more.
Okay. So yeah, this is from Carrie Hanlon, and she says, "Hi, I have a feeling I'm a walk-in soul. Do you sense anything on that? Any information on galactic connections?" And she says, "Thanks."
All right. Okay, I kind of have a different take on a walk-in soul. For me, that's like us integrating a future version of ourselves, right? So I think some people like say, "Oh, I woke up and I feel so different, and maybe I had a walk-in." Yeah, but that's also like another version of our higher self that kind of comes in. So through the solar flares are bringing, and our higher self is our future self. And it's kind of like those stacking dolls where, like, one will come in, and then when it's the next time, the next one will come in. And so it's just different ways of looking at it. So yeah, like, we all have had walk-ins, and I feel like the walk-in experience really happens when it's time for us to be fully awake. Like, there's no more going back to sleep or just questioning anymore. So you're not here by accident, Carrie. So thank you for being here. So let me just pull some cards for you. You're going through a huge metamorphosis. You got a couple of frequencies that came in. I just pulled out these decks again. These are Light Stars decks. So you're going through a huge metamorphosis, and this is the 852 frequency. It says to bring you clarity. You also got the 528 hertz, which is about DNA repair. Okay. And I want to see if there's any galactic.
I got to have her on the show, by the way, a Light Star. I haven't had her on in a while. Like, I'm going to message her.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great
idea. You think she would do it?
Well, she's so busy, right? I haven't really talked to her since last year, but you know, if you message her, she'll schedule you in. So it might not be right away, but that's okay. Okay.
I know I've been having Indy on a lot more lately. She's been wanting to do more shows, so that's cool. But I mean, like, you know, yeah, I don't know. She's
okay. So I'm right now, Carrie, because you're integrating a lot. So you have, like, your walk-in experience means like you have a higher self that's come in, and your higher self is your future self that's trying to assist you. So you also got the higher perspective card. So this experience is allowing you to see everything from a higher perspective and to look at everything differently. And that's what happens when we go through our awakening. You also got the Gaia activation. So you're to spend time in nature to help you integrate. So I used to call my going into nature clarity time, because it's as soon as we go into some nature that we love, all the distractions, all that frequency that's from our technology gets cleared out. And that's when we can communicate with our walk-in, our future self, our higher self. We can start to ask questions and get information. It's almost like someone pulls the drapes away. It's like this. It's really cool. Yeah. Let me just pull one more. I'm going to pull a dragon for you. It's interesting. You got 2 black dragons. So let me look at this. So, and what this black dragon is about, it has a little feather. So your higher self is suggesting that you journal. So when you get information that comes in from your higher self, or you can also journal. This is great for everyone. You can journal with your higher self. So you can do automatic writing, or you can ask a question, write it down. Maybe something will come in right away, but then I would say go to nature and then see what comes in, and then write that down too. So this is to allow you to help release the old, visualize your new life, and manifest your new reality. Okay. But it's interesting that you got 2 black dragons. So and black is black too is about grounding and protection. So like stones like black tourmaline as well. So the whole plan of the Matrix is to keep us all distracted, not to go to nature. And like keep us so busy we're not able to get to nature. And then as soon as we make that shift and we start planning, like I'm going to go for a walk over here today instead, everything shifts, because you just started to unplug from the Matrix by doing that.
I have a funny story I could tell you real quick. So my friend, I think I might have told you this before. My friend has a relationship with these ducks at the park. Like him and his wife, they go feed these ducks. There's like these ducks. They don't go south for the winter. They stay here in Pittsburgh at this. It's a park right near my house, and there's like maybe 40 ducks there. There's a lot of them. And when he opens his trunk, they all start coming over to him because they know. And then he'll be there with the food, and they come and eat right out of his hand. They'll eat out of my hand. It's amazing.
I know what I mean? Like, they're so sweet. They're so sweet.
They're smart too. They're really smart. Yeah, they really
smart. That's a good point. Everyone pay attention to the animal and the bird messages right now, because I had a crow that chose the morning. So the Wednesday I told you about where I hardly slept, like the Thursday morning, I had a crow land on my deck that morning at 6 a.m. Chose my deck. So loud, like woke me, and I just had gotten to sleep and woke me and my cat up. And I thought, well, apparently I'm not sleeping. Like I just gave up, but I had to actually go and shoo it away. And I remember I thought that's not a coincidence. It chose my deck. So crows are all about magic and messages and protection. So I was like, I just got up. Like I thought there's just no point. I just let the sleep thing go. But yeah, pay attention to the birds. And like if a certain bird comes and gives you a message, look it up. Look up the meaning.
Well, this was amazing. Do you want to tell everybody how they can find? And I just want to say this show went amazing today. I thought it went like really good. So thank you so much. And like I love doing this. It's become a regular thing, and I look forward to doing more shows. Thank you. This was awesome.
Yeah, I love it too. Everyone, email's the best way to get a hold of me. I'd love if you follow me like on YouTube and Telegram. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Rumble. I'm also on Rumble as well. That would be great. And yeah, email is the best way to get a hold of me if you want a deep dive Akashic reading, or I offer JEDI training and all sorts of stuff now. So it's super cool.
All right. Well, thanks, Pink Bella. And I'll be talking to you soon. And,
sending aloha. Thanks, Rob.
All right. Thanks. Have a good night. And thanks, everybody.